Hello and welcome. Today I have a requested video, a PvP beginner's tutorial. I decided the first one will be focusing on void power, incredibly important concept if you want to be good in BattleForge PvP. So in the first part we will be explaining the concept very briefly, and then in the second part, which is much more exciting, we will be looking at the replays, and we will be looking at decision from my opponent or me, and we will be criticizing basically the decisions, and we will say like why certain actions were a mistake from point of view of void power usage. And the main thing that I want you to take away from the video will be like kind of a interesting view on how to make decisions. And I want you to always question yourself, like, is this an efficient void power trade, or how much void power did my opponent now spend? Like always having this concept in mind when you make decisions in PvP. Not decisions about like how do I win the fight, but really like do I pull ahead in terms of void power? And this is like a interesting view that you can have on BattleForge PvP, and in my opinion it can be very beneficial to think in those terms. Very briefly, the power fundamentals. 220 power currently have to play units, buildings, and spells. I have here a +3 because I have 3 wells, so I'm generating power from those wells. But in addition, I have the void power, which is very interesting. I start out with it in the beginning of the game and it's flowing into my power pool. If I play a unit, I'm obviously using the regular power. And if this unit dies, 90% of the power flows back into void power. So we'll kill it now, and we should get back 54, 55, 54 power. So 260, kill 310. So we got the power back. Now it's starting flowing into our regular power pool again. Buildings, they work in the same way. 270, we kill it off. Above 320. And slightly different are the spells. So 90% of 70. We get this back immediately when you play it. There is no dying of the spell. We don't wait for the spell to expire. So 270. Boom, void power goes up above 330. Now we will take a look where power works very different. And that is in the case of Powerwells and monuments. So if you take a Powerwell, invest 100 power, and this Powerwell is destroyed, you're getting nothing back into the void power pool, which is fundamentally completely different from investing them into units, because there you get the 90% back. So very often you will see people commit huge armies to attack a Powerwell and kick it, and very often it will be a very good trade. If you imagine 4 Wind Weavers attack the Powerwell, the army gets torn apart, you're actually straight out losing 7 times 4, 28 power for those 4 squads. And you kick the Powerwell, the opponent loses 100, so would be a favorable trade very often. Yeah, so that's why you see in PvP people going strong for those Powerwell kicks. Powerwell also produces power, so this one produced 6 power already, so there is also this offset, so the 100 is not 100 anymore, it already did 6 power, so at some point it pays itself off. Okay, we fast forwarded now so we can see this Powerwell drop. We are here at 318, and once this Powerwell drops, you will see that there is no jump in the void power up here. Void power just jumped up. Reason being that he destroyed the wall, so this is unrelated. Wanted to explain that a bit later, but let's do it now. So basically, there was 75 power in there, and yeah, 90% of it is just now flowing back. But it's, you can see the Powerwell is still standing here, so that's why we saw the drop, the big spike here. Also the reason why you see people destroying those walls at the start. So he left his up, but when I started, I destroyed mine because I'm getting 90% of those 25 back. So slight advantage over my opponent from the beginning of the game, basically. Okay, so now 380. it dropped 375. So he just lost a bit of power, and you can see Powerwell doesn't refund you anything. Okay, so let's jump into the examples. Okay, let's now take a very simple example of a favorable trade. Here we have strikers, 2 strikers and the scavenger coming in. And obviously they are going to charge right now. So what I will do is I will place a root. I rooted both units and he cannot get to my monument now. My root costed 45. And I'm able to pick off those strikers. They can't do anything, so they're going to die. Those strikers are worth 90. So was this a favorable trade? Obviously yes. I spent 45 energy, removed 90 of his energy. So I was using my power efficiently. Note, however, 90% of those, they flow back in the pool. So over the long run, the difference will not be so huge. But right now, it will be a 45 difference that I kind of pulled ahead. And this is how I want you to think about trades and about investment of power. I don't want you to think about, oh, I killed the unit, that was great. No, I used a spell, it costed 45, he had 90 power there, he lost 90 power, I lost 45 power. It was a good trade. And yeah, he retreats because he now has the army that has less power. He has an army of 60 and 90, and I have an army of 140 here, plus here 70 plus 60. So obviously my army is much, much bigger. And he kind of lost the fight a little bit. And what he did is he went for another Powerwell. So he, in the long run, will make more energy. But I have a bigger army and I just did the favorable trade. So what I probably should do is attack him, because I'm now in a very aggressive position. So I should probably head over there and attack. However, it's also a pretty long way. So I think in the game I make the decision to take the well. Now in retrospect, I think I should have just attacked. So taking the well here, yeah, might be a mistake. I think it is, but it's not a big deal. Okay, let's take another wrong decision, this time by my opponent. And it's regarding when to take a well and when not to. First off, here I take a well. My opponent plays fire. Usually if you take a well, as we discussed already, 100 power is out of your army. It's not in the void pool. Disappears, basically. So my opponent could attack me, right? So in a lot of maps, this is risky, especially in certain matchups. You don't want to do that. However, Haladur is very, very special, that it's almost always possible to just take the well. The reason being, if he wants to punish this well here and attack me with army that has 100 power more, he first of all needs to run all the way down to me. Until he's here, my power well made some energy, and then I'm defending at the power well where I don't spawn based units. So on Haladur, it's almost always fine to take the well, because it takes the opponent so long to reach me. And that's something you need to be aware of. In general, taking a power well can be very risky. If the distance is very far from your opponent, it can be safe. And Haladur is a prime example. You will encounter on this map almost every matchup people just taking the first well. So there is no mistake here. That's a legit play. He does the same, just to keep the balance. And now we get to probably mistake. So again, 100 power is bound. 100 power more than I bound. And as a new player, you might be thinking something like, I don't know, like, ah, cool. Taking more power wells, more energy. I will win in the long run. What I'm thinking if I see my opponent do this is like, man, you just told me you're a better player than I am, and even though you're 100 power down, you're convinced that you can defend this position against me. So if I see a Powerwell of my opponent, I take it as a challenge. Like, he's basically saying like, even with 100 power less, I can defend you. I'm not afraid of your attack. So obviously what I do, I take on the challenge because I think you cannot take this Powerwell. Like 100 power down. So you see here 80. I have here 70, 60, 60. And I will go in. And important to note also is like I'm not rushing in like immediately with dazed units. He already bound this power. It will take him a long time. Like he only got 9 power back. So don't like make the mistake to immediately fully go in if your army is not ready for it. I wanted to have the 2 dryads out, undazed with damage reduction to kind of like really make a difference in army. So then I'm going in, and he plays here mines for 70. I think originally they are like 80 powers, but if you have them on tier 3, if they're 70. Probably the second mistake here, because even if the mines go off and they kill this one, 70 against 70 would be an equal trade. Okay, he buys a bit of time, but he will never get those ones. So this can never be a really good trade in this situation. At best, it's equal and stalls a bit of time. But yeah, I just get the unit out. 70 power wasted. Which means now I'm even more up ahead. Like he's down the power well, the 100. Now he's down even 70. My army keeps growing. And it does the same again. And now I'm completely winning. Like this is completely winning. This game is over. Like there is no chance for him to recover. Like maybe you want to play it out, but basically he cannot defend this anymore. 140 energy wasted, 100 bound to power. My army is 4 units against his 1 unit. He has 70 here. I have 100. I think I'm waiting this out, but I could also like just change focus and go here. But yeah. Oh yeah, I'm even taking 1 hit. And you will see now. Yeah, I'm just taking this down. And that's it. And the mistake was not necessarily like, I don't know, he was fighting wrong. It was this decision to take the Powerwell, which is very daring. You do that if you are thinking like, I'm so much better in micro than my opponent. I'm going to defend it and I'm going to come out as a victory. And if you do this against the opponent that is equally good, then it's gonna be difficult. Like there are certain cases where you can take the Powerwell, where it's easier for you to defend, etc., etc. But as a general baseline, you're saying I can defend with 100 power less. If you wouldn't be able to do that, you would never take the Powerwell, right? If you're saying like, if he attacks me and I cannot defend with 100 power less, I would never take this well. So this is the thought process you need to have. This is a statement. Taking the Powerwell is a statement, and it's a big one. Okay, next replay. Actually similar scenario, but we will just do like a mini test to see if you were paying attention. Try to guess what I will be doing. It's very obvious if you have the context. Both people take 1 Powerwell. There are some armies. Okay. He plays a Wrecker. Cool unit. Not played much at the moment for 50. And he uses a spell. I actually don't know how much energy that one takes, so maybe note to yourself, know what the spells, how much they cost. I think it's something around 25 maybe. Not sure. Okay, so some energy spent into being able to spawn units here. He takes a well, 100 power well spent on this. And he can play units here undazed. So this spell was good for nothing. What do you think I will do here? Yeah, and if you were paying attention in the last mistake, yes, I go for an attack because he just bound energy. I will punish him for that. Okay. Classical start, get the wall for the extra power. Now you will see how you can take advantage of me because I'm playing Wind Weavers. Which means I'm slow, I'm coming out here very far, and he's already starting to run around here. I'm missing that kind of. How does that relate to Void Power? You need to think of it in this way. 210 Void Power is right now here. If he starts an attack here, he will get also those units faster up here. Will I be able to defend? Probably not, because I'm down the Void Power. Until I get there, I'm fighting a fight with 210 Void Power down. So let's see. I have 85, he has 108. So once the fight up here starts... Now. We have now a fight here. 120 plus 50 against 70. Soon to be joined with a 60 and 65. And the 210 that I have, they're still down here. So, I could have rooted. Oh yeah, I do root. The reason he can't attack now directly, and I'm stalling the time until my army arrives. But he already made favorable trades here, so I'm already quite down. And how does he convert now this advantage? By going for that Powerwell. Because, again, if he kicks it, it's kind of like losing 100 power. In this case, not. Because I didn't invest the 100 power. It was already there from the beginning. However, if he kicks it, all the time I'm missing out on the power that he would be generating. 2 wells against 1 well. And I would need to rebuild it, and then I would have lost 100 power, in a sense. So now he is using his army superiority that he had, and already the pre-damaged stuff, to trade basically his whole army, 4 units, trade against this Powerwell. Root will not help me here, Hurricane will not help me here. I can just try to take out his units faster than he does. I will not manage to do so. But yeah, he's trading a lot of power. 70, 2 times 60, 50. Actually, yeah, this is a bit more I'll not get into this Night Guard's swap and unbound power in this video, but okay, there is more to it. But basically he's trading his whole army for this well. And he succeeds. And if you think about it in a very shallow perspective, you would say like, oh great, I have such a big army. 210, here 65, I just retake the power and I'm coming up ahead, but that's not at all how it is. How it is he took the 100 power completely out of the pool. And how does he convert this advantage? He goes tier 2, and he knows I can't. Why can't I not go tier 2? Because all of this energy is bound here, 210. Plus the Night Guard that I got. So a lot of bound power is here. I don't have enough energy to take the monument because I had to invest 100 here. So he goes tier 2, and suddenly, once he's tier 2, my whole army here, it will not do anything against his tier 2, and thus he pulls ahead in power. Okay, in this one we'll take a look at the decision to go tier 2. Much less clear who made a mistake, at least for me. But okay, we both start. Basically identical, we go for a Powerwell, we're both nature. I spawn a Dryad to be ready for a tier 1 fight. And my opponent sees that and makes the decision to take this orb. 150. So, is it a mistake or not? I don't know, actually. But yeah, he's binding 150 power in here. And he's making the statement, I can defend this. Taking down a monument is much more difficult than taking down a well. Or it's very different, at least. because overall it has more life, but in the beginning it starts out with little life. So if you play against fire, for example, 390, this would now be taken down with 2 eruptions. If you would erupt before 300, it would be already down. So it would be very easy to take down this monument. Yeah, against nature, I need to take down this whole monument for me, how to say, to make this worth it, this attack that I'm about to start. If he can defend it long enough, he will get tier 2 units, and his tier 2 units will crush my tier 1 units. So then it's suddenly extremely powerful for him, because I'm still at tier 1, I didn't invest anything into the orb yet. So I don't know if it's a mistake for me to attack or not, but we'll see how it plays out. It's important to also understand what the decisions do, right? So I managed to get a quite good advantage here. He plays a spike root, which is very, very powerful. Not typical, maybe, to play in this. Or at least I don't encounter it often, but certainly very powerful. And I'm trying to take down the monument. It would mean 100 power is lost for him, because rebuilding the monument costs only 100, not 150. So I'm not actually making him lose 150 power, but rather only 100. But in the long run, I'm not winning this fight here. Those 2 units will be too powerful against mine. Especially if he plays a second spike root or something else, like no way. Or even a CC he could use now. So probably I made a mistake by attacking, because I couldn't get it down in time. And probably he then made a mistake by playing a spike root and not playing Oink, for example. Stalling it out longer and then getting an overwhelming advantage. So yeah, after I played this, I would say I made the mistake, but he didn't punish me properly. So, there was the Oink, but too late. And I get the well. So now this was a good trade for me. Because 100 power I killed, but I invested a lot, he invested a lot. He only got 1 tier 2 unit out. So what do? I immediately retreat as far away from his tier 2 unit as possible. And I go for tier 2 myself, and now is the question, can I defend against him? And the game goes on. Turns out, if we fast forward, I can defend, but just ever so slightly. So after all this, I came out with the advantage of having taken down this monument once. So he's 100 power down. I can comfortably take a well, because he lost this 100 power, and now I'm transforming this advantage even more. I still have a few other examples to show, but since we're already above the 20 minutes mark, I will take all of those examples and put it in some part 2 video. You will find a link here once that video is available. And in the meantime, if you want me to explain some other PvP concepts, matchups, yada yada yada, let me know and I'll try to cover them.